Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about Path of Exile 1, and we're back. Now you might or might not have noticed that Path of Exile 1 has not had too much happening over the last year or so, and that was mostly because Path of Exile 2 kind of took priority. There was a lot of like discussion, a lot of back and forth. The communities kind of split simply because people weren't happy with Period 2, and like for me personally, the biggest thing was that I didn't really have Period 1 in the meantime, but with all that out of the way, there has been last week a expansion trailer, and from here on out, it's just going to go teaser after teaser after teaser. So in this video, I just wanted to kind of condense all of that before we go into the reveal on the 5th of June. Even though we did have Freesia League, which I really appreciated at the time, there was a ton of fresh stuff to do. This is going to be a huge expansion. This time, if you don't know, an expansion, basically an Atlas expansion, means there's going to be new endgame, completely revamped, or I don't know, at least that's what it was in the past. And then on top of that expansion, there's also going to be a league mechanic. So for example, Cyrus, back when it came out, was alongside the Metamorph League, and then Maven was alongside Ritual League. And then we had Searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds, which was also an Atlas expansion, which has basically been there for like 3 years, quite a while now. And we've been just doing Watchstones over, or like Voidstones over and over. And that came out with Arch Nemesis. We also had an interview with Talkative Try and Jonathan where he talked about PoE1 for a little bit, and he kind of confirmed that we're back to 4-month schedule.
The PoE1 release coming up, that's in June, and then, we'll have the PoE2 release 2 months after that, so 4 months from one to the other. But then we know we're locking in already, like there'll be another PoE1 release 4 months after the PoE1 release that we have, right? That'll be locked in, and then we'll have another PoE2 release 4 months after that in December, right? So we're basically saying we're doing 4 months. It's going to be consistent. It's going to always be the case. We don't want to have this kind of uncertainty around this anymore.
So most likely what will happen is we're going to get PoE1, then 2 months later PoE2, 2 months later PoE1, kind of like they said back in the day. If that is actually going to work out, not really sure, but what I heard from Jonathan, he definitely understands what went wrong and kind of wants to make it right again, which I do appreciate, and I really hope that is going to happen, but that's for us to see in 4 months. The utopia of having that schedule again and PoE2 getting better and better is definitely something I'm looking forward to. I don't think it's obviously quite there yet, but it's something I really, really hope is going to materialize. And from what it looks like from the teaser, we're now going to have Zana as a boss. It is basically all but confirmed. They've kind of been winking at it, like the roses and whatnot. It is going to be called Secrets of the Atlas, and there have been quite a few small tidbits. Just in case you're wondering, on the 5th of June, we get the full reveal with most likely the patch notes, and then on the 13th of June is going to be the league release. Now, a lot of people have been memeing about Path of Exile 2 and its impact on Path of Exile 1 in case of development time, and there has been obviously a ton of missed opportunities, a ton of space and time where there was no new content. However, there are a few features that will actually creep over from Path of Exile 2 to PoE1, kind of seeing Path of Exile 2 as maybe like even a beta test for PoE1 if you wish so. But probably the biggest thing that's going to come is pausing. And gone are the days that you can tell your mommy that you cannot pause in an online video game, so you have to get your chicken nuggies a little bit later. No, now if you press escape or you go into any other full screen menu, it's actually going to pause you. So it's going to do it in a second right here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he opens the strongbox, he clicks escape, and there's that. So now I can read emotes and whatnot. I can read messages while mapping. If somebody links something, that is obviously a straight up streamer buff. Jokes aside though, I think this change is way more massive than people give it credit for right now. People are talking about it as like, oh, that's a cute QL. I think this is actually going to be on par with something like stash affinities in terms of how the game's gonna feel. And I know this because obviously playing Path of Exile 2, that's one of the first thing I noted was like, I really want this in Path of Exile 1. And we're gonna get it. Being able to open your passive tree and actually speccing in stuff, or not being interrupted doing Betrayal. They have been talking about some Betrayal improvements. They don't talk about it, but obviously the pausing is, in my opinion, the biggest thing in Betrayal. So now you don't have to go into this menu and you're kind of like, oh, what should I do? Meanwhile, you're getting attacked by mobs from the outside. No, it is a full screen menu, so it's gonna be paused. But other than that, we have some more. In order to unveil now, you will not have to go to June anymore. You can actually just, as it does it right here, right-click on the item, right? Very nice. You can just do it in the map, throw it down on the ground again, straight up get your stuff. However, even better than that, in order to get your crafting bench, you will now unlock them while mapping, just like normal recipes. They are going to be scattered across everywhere. Now, this is a straight up buff for something, especially obviously a buff for SSF, but even for trade, this just means a lot more quality of life. And it kind of means you don't have to ask for, yeah, I don't know, if other people have like these crafts or whatnot, you just have them. This will be especially big for stuff like rings early on. If you think about Elrond rings, a ton of builds rely on the minus mana cost, and depending on where this one is, this could actually now be included in something like a league starter without kind of expecting you to buy Elrond rings or farm Jun for hours. I also know quite a few builds who are very happy about getting their pierce more reliable now. You can get +1 from gloves, +1 from helmet. Now you don't have to fish for it anymore. And the list goes on. Hits can't be evaded. We don't really know where these get unlocked. Is it going to be the tier 16 or in a tier 1 map? That is obviously going to make a huge difference there. But overall, yeah, seems like Betrayal is mostly phased out of what you have to do, which is huge because having to do Betrayal at league start, I don't really feel it. I don't really want to do it. So it's really nice that this is now integrated into the base game. And then the last quality of life improvement is with Secrets of the Atlas. There's obviously a lot of Atlas revamping that we don't know about. There might be a completely new quest progression. One thing I want to note that a lot of people said is they often show off teasers. So everything that is in these videos is purposeful. That is a fact. That's how they do stuff. So they wouldn't just put Searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds here if it wasn't still a thing. However, a lot of people have pointed out that there is not the outline that usually is here with the completions, which might mean a few things. Maybe they're just not really, like maybe they have like a low level character, they don't have the quest yet, but these things are missing, which could imply that Eater and Exarch is not the quest progression anymore. They might still have it in the game for the influence and for the Eldritch Implicits, but it might now just be a uber boss, right? Like, or a pinnacle boss or an encounter or whatever, just like they phased out some of the old bosses in the past. And maybe that's not how it is. Maybe we still have the Voidstone progression as it was, but that would be a little bit weird because in the past, Atlas expansion means complete change. Also with stuff like the quest progression early on, what you have to kill to progress. But yeah, big quality of life here, not just for SSF, but you can now apply Horizon Orbs to your Elder maps and to your Conqueror maps, which is quite nice. So it now also changes the bosses with it. It was already a thing, obviously, on Shaper maps, but we now have that. And on top of that, you'll also have this little stash space right here. Another hint here is that for people who said maybe they're going to introduce idols into the base game, there is no menu here or anything that would imply that. Plus, I mean, it used to be here, right? So it's probably not going to be implemented if you've played Freesia and you want that. But I know most people absolutely hate idols, so it's not going to be a big deal for them. But yeah, there is now an inventory here that can hold your maps and can also hold your scarabs. A small little feature that you might have missed is when you clicked on the Orb of Alchemy, there's a white outline right here, which means that it can be applied to this map. If you played Path of Exile 2, you know that that's a thing. So it's another cool feature brought over. So that means that if it doesn't have a white outline, it's already rare, so you cannot apply the Orb of Alchemy. Or it's magic, but straight up, you cannot apply that item on it. So you get the gist. That is quite nice, and I will say one of those changes, again, that sounds very subtle, but it is very nice and like smooth to play with. Now, in terms of what you're going to do with these, you can't search, so you can't regex and like roll all those maps to what you need it to be. So in general, you're not going to use this to roll maps. However, once you rolled your maps in your stash, most likely you're going to put some of these here. You can see that there is a button combination that will directly get these over there. So you don't have to drag them over, of course, which is very nice. So you're going to roll your maps in here, regex, and then, I don't know, you take like the 20 and put it over. But that's about all we got for now. Obviously going to update you guys probably once more. I don't want to make a video for every single one of these reveals. Obviously, probably going to make one more video before the reveal on June 5th. I also do have actually a leak starter test that I did on Power Siphon of Archmage Ballistas. If you saw me stream over the last week or so over on twitch.tv/Palsteron, you know what that's about. It is a, for me, highly anticipated build I want to try out, but we're going to have to wait for patch notes. I will put out a video if you want to test that before, maybe de-rust a little bit yourself, get into the groove again after so long. But other than that, I'm going to be completely honest. I know I haven't been posting in like a month or so. I've obviously played Last Epoch and everything. Paradox 2, I haven't posted too much. I'm currently not that happy about how the game is, but I don't want to be the complainer over and over, so I'd rather chose to say like nothing kind of after that one video I did. And I kind of had to reconsider what I want, because as like a creator, I really like Paradox 1 more than like all these other games. So if there's 11 months of not really much to do, then I have to reconsider a lot of things and have to change how I do stuff. But we're back on schedule, and I'm hyped to put out more content again. And yeah, I've been touching a little bit too much grass recently, so I'm also really looking forward to just, I don't know, kind of like honing in on Paradox 1 again. Look out for more content. Since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.